Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to In the Zone. Pete Coles, Rich Sutter, back in the seat, and we are so excited to be back. Our interview with Hoops Weiss was very, very widely received. We thank you, and we really, really appreciate Hoops coming on because, man, that was a historical perspective. It was unbelievable.
It was an awesome
I'm going to try and get him back. Because we just touched the tip of that iceberg right there, man. Yeah. All right, folks, we got so much going on. The opening theme of the show today for you is I was coming down in my car, and I hear it, and there it is. We got The Who on, and it's Won't Get Fooled Again by The Who. And in it, right as I'm coming in and ready to turn off the car, it says, meet the new boss. Same as the old boss. And that's what you got going on right now, folks. Meet the new boss. Same as the old guy. All right, we jump off into Pete's Corner, our opening segment of the show. And we did something a little different this week. I love it. Hey, Pete got a new logo. Look at this thing, folks. It is absolutely El Fuego. I love it. Man, we are going leaps and bounds with this show. We're crushing it for you every single week. And most of that's Pete, who does an amazing job. It's the simple reason that we call him MVP Pete. All right. He does so much around here for the young people, so much around here in this school building. He's an absolute MVP here, and we just value and treasure him for everything that he is. Pete, let's kick off into Pete's Corner, but we got to tell the folks, why don't you explain to them what's going on this week?
I asked the following of the AI for Twitter, Grok. I said, I need 3 topical questions to ask Westfield State University men's basketball coach Rich Sutter for his basketball podcast, In the Zone.
Wow.
This podcast covers men's NCAA basketball and NBA basketball. And here's what Grok came back with. Coach, you just hit your 400th career win in a couple of weeks ago. Congrats again on that huge milestone. Looking back, what stands out most about this team's contributions to getting you there, and how do you feel about the Owls' strong 12-4 start that sets you up for the rest of the MASCAC slate?
Wow. Grok broke rule number 1 of In the Zone, baby. We don't talk about Rich Sutter in the zone. All right. So Grok broke rule number 1. All right. We got to knock it out of the park, though, Pete. We got to. Okay. So 400 was really special. I have to say that I have a good group of young men right now that I really enjoy working with. So that's such a pleasure, and it's really, really not always the case these days. I can't say that everybody's locker room's as fun as mine is, and we like to keep it that way, But 400 was special. I told them when we went in that when I got 300, it was against the number 3 team in the country, So that was kind of like a knockout. I said, it's going to be tough to top that one.
Yeah.
So let's be businesslike about it. Let's get in, let's get out, and let's keep the focus on the fact that, as Grok alluded to, we were champions last year. 12-4 this year. There's a big target on our back. We got to keep playing good basketball, got to keep putting days in front of each other and just doing what we do. But that's a great question because it lets me reflect for a second, really, on all of the great players that we've had at Westfield, and that's where I've always tried to keep the focus is on our players and my assistant coaches and the people that have been around me in this program because I love to do this. To say that it's a job is really not a great description of it. I really, really love what I do. I've loved every single minute of it. And I don't know that everybody gets to say that when they go to work. So I'm deeply humbled and I have humility around this. But I would be nothing without my wife, my daughter, and with my family around me and with the people, my assistant coaches, Wes Jackson, most notably, Nate Martin's the head coach at Westfield High School right now. Great, great guys that have worked with me to build this thing. But the one thing we've always been good at Westfield is we keep it on the players. And there's always been my absolute honor to coach such erudite and great princely men of Westfield. It's been my honor. I can say that. All right, Grok, let's go to number 2, baby.
All right, question 2. Bracketology is heating up with Duke jumping to a number 1 seed and teams like Arizona, UConn, Houston, and Michigan dominating the conversation. Who do you see as the biggest national title contender right now from a Division III perspective? And any surprises or disappointments that have caught your eye this season?
Wow. That's
a pretty good question.
That's a great question. All right. So I like Grok's top 4 there. But what has to happen also, and this is what our fans know also, is you have to get into the qualifiers first. We've got to see who takes those AQs. Once that happens, then we're going to be into that mosh pit of who gets in, who gets what seeds, who gets sent where. And that's the whole beauty of the whole tournament. So right now, I love that top four. And if I have alluded to on this show, and I think Grok just hit on it a little bit, I think Duke and Connecticut are going to have a chance to run away a little bit and hide right now. And because they are so far and away better than everybody else in their league. There are very few opponents in Duke's conference right now that have a chance to beat them. There are very few opponents in UConn's conference right now that have a chance to beat them. It really comes down to almost one team, and Duke has already handled that one team that I had on the horizon. I might throw another one out to you, which is Virginia playing very good basketball. But at the end of the day, they don't stack up, talent-wise against Duke.
Yeah.
Very few teams stack up talent-wise against UConn. So if you told me that those two teams are going to get really good seeds, have a really good chance to advance and get into the Final Four, you're talking about Danny Hurley's been there before.
Yep.
And Shire is this up-and-coming kind of young genius in our game. He's been able to get in there without coaching experience and really, really mix with the big boys. And so I've been impressed with that on his end. So those two go, hand in hand. I'm interested to see what happens with Michigan as Michigan goes through the Big Ten, because the Big Ten is very competitive this year. You're not looking at the ACC where Michigan is so far and away better than all the other teams. They got to go to Purdue. They got to go to some of these really tough arenas and play against some pretty good teams. I think the ACC's fallen off a little bit. I think the Big East has fallen off a little bit. Some of that by design, NIL, you don't have football, you don't have legitimate football. They want to get them out, especially the Big East, minimize them, but then there showed up that advantage that they may have because they don't have football and they can pump more of their NIL money into basketball. But the question is really, really good. What happens with the bracketology also is you're going to see if they start to implement the weapons of math destruction. Let me give you a quick synopsis on that.
Okay.
What I mean by that is, right now, if you took Torvik and you swept 1 through 68, the Atlantic 10 would get one team in it. Only one. Now, that team is St. Louis. So what happens in these mid-conferences, let's say George Washington wins the conference tournament. SLU is somewhere still in the top 30, 35 of Torvik, top 40 of Torvik. Now do you get two bids out of that?
Right.
And once those two bids come out, now you're getting one of those bump bids, as they say, because the guys who were supposed to take the bid got bumped. Somebody who didn't get it got in, and now you have two.
That's why the NCAA wants to go to automatic bids.
Correct. That's why they're moving towards this. And so if they sweep and start to go by just numerical, what you have is 37 and 31 split, basically, on automatic qualifiers and at-large bids. And so you have 31 automatic qualifiers right off the get. Boom. Watch them in the future is what I say to our listeners. Watch that in the future is what I say to our viewers, because are they going to leave an automatic qualifier in the Patriot League? Are they going to leave an automatic qualifier in the Ivy League, the MAC, the NEC? I don't know. There's a very good chance those things are going to get absorbed up into the Power 68. And so whatever those Power 4 teams are doing at that time, I thought it was pretty well illustrated last year when they got like 12 teams, 14 teams in from that one conference.
Yeah.
And I thought 5 of them
That was ridiculous.
And I thought 5 of them didn't belong.
Yep.
And so I think that was just kind of a way of knocking the door down of this is the new normal. And so I think it's going to be rough on the lower levels. I think it's going to be rough on the mid-major levels, because they are going to start to implement the tools that they laid out a long time ago now, which are the weapons of math destruction, the algorithm, the non-human look at this whole thing, and just say these are the numbers. And they absolutely have these numbers that are absolutely, to me, astronomically inefficient in telling you the whole story. They have Florida, who has 5 losses in their top 12. It doesn't resonate when these teams lose. They don't move. They don't move down. But God forbid in the A-10, if St. Louis loses to Loyola Chicago, who has a number 295 rating, they're going to get blasted by that net. They're going to get absolutely blasted by that algorithm. But those top teams can lose to each other all they want, and there doesn't seem to be any residual effect to it.
Yep.
Great question, though, Pete. I'm almost afraid for number 3. I'm out of breath here.
All right. Question number 3. The NBA All-Star Reserve picks are a hot topic this week with the announcements looming. Who are your locks for the Eastern and Western Reserves? And do you think there are any clear snubs based on how guys have performed so far this season?
I would like to see in the reserve, because I don't think you're going to see a lot of these young players that are down in that mix right now that are really, really good in the NBA, because when you're doing this thing like they're doing it, you sit there and you say, okay, the fans are voting, and LeBron's going to get his, and Durant and Curry, and those guys are all going to get theirs because they have that built-in symbolism, that totemism tied to their name. They're the guys, They've been the guys. And so they have that. And so when you're talking about people that are going to kind of be under the radar here, is Donovan Mitchell going to be one of the top lead vote getters? Although I think he's having a great year. Tyrese Maxey from Philadelphia, is he going to be one of their top vote getters over some of those more established players? I don't know. Where are we with, the young guns that are out there? Of SGA's a lock for sure. The guy from the Timberwolves, probably a lock as well. But then there's others, Wembayana, probably a lock. But then you have some players like, how about Shaedon Sharpe? I'll give you one. He's out in Portland. What a great athlete. What a great player. Kind of toiling in obscurity out there. You have young man Norman Powell, who's playing for the Heat right now, under the radar, just doing really, really great things. Those two names jump to me right away, And then I think, you could go into the Celtics a little bit. Derek White's having a great, great year for the Celtics alongside Jaylen Brown, who's kind of a lock, And so those are the guys I think that, because I'm looking at people that are having that elevation for their team as well.
Yeah, sure.
The guys that are having that, you're going to want to have Cooper Flagg in that game. He's a rising young star. Con Knuppel is a rookie, have an amazing, amazing year. VJ Edgecombe, rookie. Are they going to be in the rookie game, or they get upstairs and play with the big guys? Last couple of years they had like 3 teams. They had a young guns team, and he had this. I said, I think it's just better that they include as many as they can, but make it prestigious to be on the team. So that when you get to the situation where guys don't play hard and guys aren't treating it like a real game, maybe then you have some options to not invite them again. The same people that keep doing the same thing.
Right.
Maybe then you would have an option to get into some other places and get some other players there who would really, really respect being in the All-Star game. I mean, what a great, great honor. Think about that. And then think about what it turned into. And then tell me that's not indicative of where the NBA is flat out right now.
Yep.
You have an all-star game. It's not even prestigious.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Nobody plays hard. Nobody treats the game with respect.
That's a party weekend for them. It's a party weekend for them.
It's such an honor.
Yeah.
It's such an honor. That's what's being missed. So much of what's being missed here is that that's an honor. That's a great, great accomplishment, a personal accomplishment. And by acting the way that they act, it diminishes their own accomplishment. That's what drives me a little bit nuts. You're biting off your own nose.
Yep.
All right, Pete. Great 3. Holy smokes. That was a really, really good. I think that was terrific.
I gave Grok a good prompt for that one.
That was really good. Yeah, the prompt was excellent. But, these tools are, something of the future.
According to Grok, it says it researched 89 sources, and it took 25 seconds to think about those questions. That's forever in AI terms.
That's the advantage they have over humans.
Yep.
That's the advantage it has over humans. I'll tell you this, though. The Grok, I like it on Twitter because so much of people just talk smack on Twitter. They just throw out anything that's out there. And then somebody comes in and goes, hey, Grok, How about this? And Grok's sitting there. I mean, imagine if it was a human. It'd be sitting there like just shaking its head, going like, yeah, not so much. Not really. Pete, we got a dog bone. We got a dog bone for you, Pete. Shamrock's going to get it right after the show. But today, we're going to go with a bamboozle. We have a bamboozle for our dog bone NBA NCAA. Bam Adebayo, Player of the Week in the NBA. I'm very, very excited about that. That can lead for good stuff for the Heat. Kel'el Ware, my guy, has fallen off in a little bit of a tussle, locker room tussle with Spoelstra. And I don't know what's going on there, but Bam Adebayo has picked up in that stead and averaging 28 a game, just doing great stuff. Super athlete, super good hands around the basket. You love that for a big man. Always been a little undersized, but as long as you could be kind of that Wes Unseld, strong body type, you can get away with being a little undersized in the NBA as long as you're willing to push people around. Bam Adebayo is going to take it for the pros, but the booze on the bamboozle is Cam Boozer, Duke. He's been driving the train, and there's a lot of talk about him. Wild. I would say of all the people that are in the top 10, the most stuff that's being thrown out of there about an individual is about Cam Boozer. Either this guy stinks or he's the next best thing. But there doesn't seem to be any in between.
That's called a polarizing figure right there.
Yeah, and it's his play, that has people, in it. But I'm not sure that they're not being just a little overly critical. Look at his numbers. Look at what he's doing in college basketball this year. He's crushing it. He's got Duke, the number 2 team in the country, on our top 25. I mean, you got to just look at it sometimes and take, the fact that he plays for Duke, take it out of it. Because so many people hate Duke, It's already like your glasses are already tinted, Take out of the fact that he's going to go into the NBA and you go, well, he doesn't have this and he doesn't have that. Neither did Hakeem Olajuwon. To play center. Willis Reed was 6'9", Unseld was 6'8". It's all different types that fit.
Yep.
All different types that fit. All right, Pete, let's go to the Power 15 of the NBA. We're rocking, we're rolling. Kicking it on time, too. We're doing a great job on time today. OKC Thunder really, really grabbed themselves here, but that 8 losses, they were 25-1 at one point during the year.
Yeah, but we knew they were going to come back to earth at some point.
I didn't expect it like that, though. If you look at 25-1, so 25 off of that, that's 12, and then they had 1, so they're 12-7 over that time since that. Now, the NBA might have called them, too, and said, hey, fellas, slow down a little bit. We get you. You're going to win the whole thing. We get it, but let's not obliterate this whole thing so that people stop watching. I wouldn't be surprised at all if there was some TV execs who picked up that phone and said, slow it down.
Coach dropping the hammer.
Detroit Pistons, surprise team of the year, 32-10, leading the East Coast and really, really doing a great job. Cade Cunningham, that's another guy you can throw out there as far as all-star consideration. If there's one player that's put this team on his back and made them go, Cade Cunningham. They had a big knockdown brawl in the NBA last year with the Knicks. Great series. The Knicks escaped to go to the finals to fire Thibodeau just barely on that series. This year, the Pistons have handled the Knicks, and they're really excited about this team. Man, this could be the surprise. Everybody thought Cavaliers. Everybody thought Knicks. Nobody saw this coming. San Antonio Spurs, Pete, Wembayana land, 30-14, and they're doing really well. They've had a little bit of struggles from Castle, and they've had a little bit of struggles from Harper right now. We'll see how that works itself out. It's one of the reasons I didn't want to have Dylan Harper drafted where he was. I think we had Derek Queen over him. All right, Denver Nuggets, 29-15, hanging strong. Joker averaging a triple-double. He's their guy. He's their North Star. But Murray's been picking it up lately, and they just could use, I don't know, with this trading deadline, there hasn't been much happening. But, boy, the Spurs and the Nuggets, if they could just get a piece or two, I think they're going to really be up there and add. So I'd be interested to see what happens. Houston Rockets, 26-15. Ime Udoka, really, really great young squad. They've got some great pieces on this team. One of the Thompson twins. They've also got Alperen Sengun, who's a great big man, and the addition of Kevin Durant. It doesn't have appeared to slow them down. Here's a good one, Pete. Boston Celtics moving up into the 6th spot. This is all Jaylen Brown, all White, all Derek White right now. Some really good ancillary pieces there. Good job by Mazzulla. I didn't know he had it in him, but he's doing a good job. They're 27-16. They're 27-16. And I don't know if anybody's counting, but they're in the number 2 spot right now in the East.
I remember you thought at the beginning of the season this was going to be a tough one.
I got to stand down on that right now.
I'm pleasantly surprised.
Very pleasantly surprised, and some great contributions from them. Right now, let's just throw in a question at Pete. Would you bring Tatum back?
If you don't need to, no. They're doing fine right now. It seems like they have a team dynamic that sometimes surpasses star power.
Does he make them a championship team? If he comes back healthy.
If he fits into the team dynamic right now.
Yeah. That's a big piece.
Yeah.
It really does. When he's been out, when you've been absent, it's almost better to just let it go the whole year. And if you're going to
if he's the future of the franchise, though, you let him mend properly.
They dropped $50 million a year on Brown. They haven't, I don't know what Tatum's numbers are, but I'm not sure that they dropped that same number on him. This is a good one. The Celtics right up top of the Lakers. Los Angeles Lakers are 26-16. LeBron is back. Luka playing good basketball right now. People just, the fact that he plays no defense, the fact that LeBron plays no defense is maybe the worst kept secret in the entire NBA world. Social media really, really lets you shine a light in places where the regular media normally wouldn't have gone, because the regular media, and I'm not saying this about the media of not being strong and not going after people, but the regular media have to be around these people every single day, face-to-face interaction. You're on your keyboard. There's no face-to-face interaction. I get it, but what it does bring up is people are talking about stuff that normally wouldn't get talked about because you don't want to have that face-to-face confrontation all the time, especially with some of these head coaches who can be a little rough at times, I would imagine. Phoenix Suns, they're hanging on. I don't know how they're doing. This is another team that I would like. I thought that them and the Celtics, with the injuries, the losses, Kevin Durant moving out, I just didn't see this team having a real good punch to it, and they're hanging in. They'll make the playoffs right now. Minnesota Timberwolves hanging around in that 9th spot. I want to see this team climb up into that top 4 of the West. I want to see them get in there with the Spurs, with the Nuggets, with the Thunder. I want to see that be that top 4 because they're really good. Fight the Houston Rockets for that spot. I want to see them climb a little bit. The Knicks, wow. They put a beating on the Nets the other night, 60-plus points. They absolutely, and that's a New York thing. Rivalry. It's a rivalry game, and they just dog-walked the Nets the other night. But for the most part, they've not been playing good basketball. And the difference between Thibodeau and Brown is significant. It's what happens when you take out a coach who's going to push the limit with how far he can push and go with his players, to a guy who's what they call a player's coach. It's a coach's player and a player's coach. Brown's a player's coach, and you don't have that same discipline. You don't have that same esprit de corps. And right now, he calls out Karl Anthony Towns the other night. Towns falls down on the other end, does some offensive move, falls down, and then takes forever to get up and run down to the other side. And Brown calls him out in a press conference for it, but you didn't take him out of the game either.
Right.
That's the only motivation a coach has, really, in essence, is the bench. That's your only true motivation. Take him out, bench him. But to sit there and, watch him rolling around on the floor there like, he was beached, and then, get up, jog into it, and then come back the other side. It was just, it's hard to watch these NBA guys, and you bring it upon yourselves. You're getting paid millions and millions of dollars. Why is it, seemingly, that the more money you pay people, the less they want to give for it? It's one of those anomalies to me. There's no gratitude for the life you have that you've been given. worked it hard for, but also been given, been helped to achieve by so many people. Where is that cognizance? Where's that respect? It's gone. Raptors, solid. They have the best balanced offense in the NBA. They got guys who score double digits every night. You got Barnes, you got Barrett, you got Quickley, you got some Podol, you got some really good pieces over there. But they've held this team together. It shows they're going to make the playoffs. Cleveland Cavaliers 25-20. This is the surprise team on the downside. Really, really disappointed in their performance. Most people, prognosticators, probably including myself, had them as the number one team this year. Thought they would take that playoff hit that they got from the Pacers, bounce back, and give it a little shot, but it didn't work. Didn't work. They're really mired in mediocrity right now, and it's basically the same roster. Basketball's funny, man. Golden State Warriors 25-20. We still want to fire Steve Kerr for what he did to Tatum, but they're playoff bound right now. Philadelphia 76ers, but I will go back to the Warriors. I think they had possibly been considering Jimmy Butler to get out of town. I would be if I was them. And it's a little bit like heat culture over there. They want to keep it real. Curry doesn't want to be in a locker room full of guys that don't get it, And Jimmy Butler might be one of those guys that kind of gets Jimmy Butler more than he gets the other stuff. But he just blew out his knee. So the ability for them to trade him right now is down. His value isn't going to be what it is. Philadelphia 76ers hanging on by a thread, 23-19. And basically, they have so much money tied up in Paul George and Joel Embiid, and they don't play. There has to be a better way for the NBA to get rid of those guys, that they don't have to eat their contract money for all those years. They don't have to sit there and keep paying guys year after year after year. They should be able to pay them out and get them out.
I think at one time the NBA thought that would be a disincentive to high contracts, that you'd have to be stuck with them on the back end. And now nobody seems to care, neither does the NBA.
I mean, at some point, that you're getting close to the profit margins on somebody. The value of the franchises aren't going to go down, but these teams are losing money.
Yep.
Until you sell your team, you're going to lose money. And that's what I don't get. I do get a little bit of it, but, Orlando Magic in the last spot, Pete. Really, really good. Let's go to Buster Poindexter real quick. Not a ton happening there, but I like this segment. Who's hot? Who's not? Pistons have won 4. Rockets have won 3. Suns and Blazers won 3 apiece. The Blazers seem to be a composite of 3-game winning streaks. They just seem to get hot and then kind of drip off, but then get hot again. They're doing all right. I'm not being critical because this team was the Pistons. These are the teams in the NBA that I'm looking at and saying, God, how are they ever going to get up? Right now I say it's the Wizards, the Nets. How are they ever going to get up? But these teams did. The Blazers and the Pistons did. So if there's a way, there's a way. It's really about management, really about good management. Who's evaluating the players that you're bringing in? Because you got to give a consideration to the fact that you're dealing with a finite pool of players. Who are the best guys to have, A, on the court, and B, in your locker room, airplane, team bus, and all the other places that they'll have to interact with the rest of the team? That's the big piece of it. It's like Billy Donovan says, almost in a basketball perspective, but then extrapolate it out. He went to one of his players one time who was having a tough time shooting the ball, and he said, how much do you think the ball is in your hands during the game? Then they went and studied it. Actually got some people to study it. And you know what it was? 15%. 15% of the game, the ball is in your hands. That means 85% of the time you don't have the ball in your hands. What are you doing? How are you helping the team? Are you playing great defense? Are you, a great screen setter? Are you a guy who can make assists? Those are the things that they talked about. But then this extrapolates out almost to the game. How much of this, is in the whole spectrum of it, and it's really like 15%. The rest of the 85 is the bus, the plane, all of those interactions in the locker room that your guys have.
Yep.
They like each other, they're going to play hard together. They don't like each other, they're not going to play hard. And so that's the 1585 formula that I talk about that extrapolates into that real personal management side as well. That right now, there's only maybe 2 or 3 teams in the whole NBA that get that.
That's what you're seeing with the Celtics,
Yep.
the Miami Heat, and in college you're seeing that at UConn. We've been saying that for years. For
100%.
those coaches and franchises and clubs, it's more about the team than it is about the individual stars.
Pete, you just crushed that. You just knocked that right out of the park because that's exactly where it's at. That's exactly where it's at. Now, you got people like Shaka Smart in the NCAA. They're desperately trying to hold on to their integrity, trying to hold on to it, but then they're losing because these other teams are buying guys and they're getting players and they're going to portal and they're drastically changing their teams, sometimes for the better. Nobody looks at all the car crashes out there.
Yeah.
They're only looking at the ones that make it around the track. And I'm really nervous about the game right now because it doesn't seem like there is a divergent path. Shaka's looking for that divergent path, and it might not be there. That's what really scares me. All right, Wizards L7, Pacers L3, Pelicans L3, Nets and Kings L3. MVP right now, it's down to 3, Pete. Joker, SGA, and Luka. And then in the Rookie of the Year, we're going to keep it at 3 also. Knuppel, Edgecombe, and Flag right there. That's a good group. That's solid. But I really think Knuppel, if he keeps going, he's going to win it. He's going to win it. It's going to be a surprise. And I'm going to have to really eat some crow on that one because when they drafted him 4, I laughed out loud. I really did. But I hope that I'm right more than I'm wrong. Pete, Super 25, this is where I know I'm right. And we refer to them as Torvik turnovers and Ken Palm bombs on this show because they're weapons of math destruction people only. They'll run the computer. They don't watch the games, I don't think. They don't look at the environments that these games are played in. They don't know the leagues and how difficult this is, and they don't know the coaches, and none of that goes into their variable, and that's the human side of basketball, which you can never not equate. You have to put it in the formula. Arizona is number 3 in Torvik. Now, I don't know they have Michigan number 1. Michigan just lost to a team that's not even close to Michigan. But it didn't pull them out. Why? Why didn't Arizona rise? You have to look at your formula and ask yourself that. Arizona has 5 wins on their schedule. Now it's 7. They beat Auburn and Alabama. They have 7 top-tier wins, what you guys call quad 1 wins. And so now, you're sitting there going, well, that doesn't really, I don't get it. Tommy Lloyd and his team ducked nobody. They played one of the best schedules in the world right now, and they're undefeated. They have not lost a game. Does that mean anything to their algorithm? Nebraska has not lost a game. That they have them way out of it. I'm going to go to my number 2 team right now, and they have Duke at he has them at 9. Torvik has Duke at 9. Have you seen them? Have you watched them play? If you think they're 9, you're nuts. Okay? If you think they're 9, you haven't been paying attention. This is one of the best teams in the country, very, very capable of winding up in the Final Four. And just like the team we're going to announce next, UConn, I see those 2 teams as really, really having a possibility of playing in the final because they have depth. They have great players, and they got great coaches. So that's a really good combination. You got Connecticut at 18-1. You got Duke at 17-1. And I went with Michigan. I'm not opposed to Michigan. For a long time, we had them at number 2. They have not had the same strength of schedule that Arizona has. Nobody could make that argument to me. And so when you go and you say, here's the issue. What they did was they throw in that little insidious side bomb of the net, which goes into the algorithm now, which the net includes how much you beat your opponent by. Totally unsportsmanlike, too. But their big win over Gonzaga by 40 points. That's what catapulted them up, was the net, which I think is one of the most fugazi metrics that you could ever put into this thing. But they got it in there, and now it's running the game. Now this metric, this algorithm, this type of approach is now running the game. This is running the NCAA tournament committee, because you can't turn around now and go, well, they were 24 in Torvik. Why did you exclude them? Committee don't want to fight that argument. Committee doesn't want to do it. So everybody just shuts their mouth, closes their eyes, and blows it out with the power conferences the way that this thing was designed to go a long, long time ago. They don't want Cinderella. They don't like Cinderella. She's covered in ashes, sitting in the basement. And the fans out there, I don't think they know what to do. I really don't think they know what to do about it. That's the sad part. I got Michigan 4, but Houston 5. I'm going to do some splits for you in a minute here, and then I'm going to explain what I think, is going on, because Houston splits, home and away splits, I think they should include that in their algorithm. But I don't think they will. All right, Houston 17-1, Gonzaga, Pete 20-1. They got dog walked by Michigan, no question about it. But they're 20-1. They got a great team, and they're going to be really, really good in the NCAA tournament. They're
I think
deep.
it's okay to take a one quality loss like that.
I mean, if you think Michigan's the number one team in the country, then that's not a loss at all.
Yeah. Yeah, but even top 5, you take a top 5 loss. That's not a shameful thing.
I'm with it.
You got beat by a better team.
And the fact they got beat by 40, that means nothing to me. Nothing. It happens. Mm-hmm. It's basketball. Some guys got it turned on some nights. Some guys are high tide. Some guys are low tide. You caught them at low tide. They had a bad day. It happens. What happened since then? They haven't lost. All right, Nebraska. They got them in 15 spot. 15. They're 19-0. Now, I get their schedule hasn't been that good, but Houston has 2 away games. You love Houston, though. So I don't get it. I like Michigan State 17-2. Tom Izzo. I love Coach Izzo, but he turns to one of his players the other day and he tells him he couldn't guard his mother. Then he was asked about it in the press conference afterwards, and he doesn't step back. He goes, my mother's 99.5. He says, and I don't think he can guard her.
Ooh.
And it was just, that's Izzo. That's Izzo. We got number 9, Virginia, 16-2. This program really, really jumped up. This is Coach Odom, who's doing a great job. Seasoned coach. I think it's what happens when you move things through the natural order of things. Get a job at a mid-major school. Get a job at a low-major school and do really well. Then get moved up to a mid-major school. Do really, really well. Then get moved up to that big time, and then I think you're ready for that. And Coach Odom certainly is displaying the fact that he's ready for it. There's going to be a ton of coaching changes this year. The carousel is going to spin in centrifugal force this year. It's going to go like the drain around my bathtub. And you're going to really, really be seeing a lot of names. Some of them, I'll throw one out right now, old Virginia coach Tony Bennett. A lot of people think he might have something left in the tank. If he can get into the right situation, the right NIL, you might see some of those coaches who jumped out jump back in. Jay Wright, he's in the television booth right now, but if somebody went to Jay Wright and offered him one of the best jobs in the country, you might see some of that start to happen.
I think some of these coaches that got out were waiting to see how this thing would shake out and how it would settle down. Now that it's settled down, they know how the game is played. I think they could jump right back in.
I'm with you. And I think the game was better with Jay Wright in it.
Yeah.
I think the game was better with Tony Bennett in it. Personally, I like those guys. Class acts. All right, number 10, Purdue, 17-2. Deep, strong team. And everybody loves Braden Smith. I think that's one of the weak spots in their team. If you really want to, if I was going to game plan and I was going to go at how to beat Purdue, I'd attack right there. I'd get one of my best athletes and I'd put him on that young man and I'd run him all over the court. Wear him out as much as you could, because he is the thing that makes that engine go. And you got to stop that. BYU, 16-2. Really good team. A.J. DeBonsa is our number one. I know a lot of people high on Darren Peterson, but I think Darren Peterson's load managing already. I don't think I'd want that if I was an NBA franchise about to drop millions into his pocket. Iowa State 17-2. They were at the top in the top 4 of our poll, and then, wow, came out and took 2 on the chin. Boom, boom, dropped 2 losses. Welcome to the league. Welcome to the real world, and welcome to no longer being in Cupcake City. Illinois 16-3. I love Momcilovic. I think people better put him on your draft board. Okay, that young man can play. I like Stojakovic as well. Some people better put him on your draft board. They got a good team. They went with that foreign look on their team, and 16-3. They're holding up, and they're in the Big Ten, which is tough. The guy Underwood can really coach. He can really do a good job there. Clemson 16-4. Great job, really doing well. They're going to benefit from some teams in the ACC just not being able to grab it. This is Brownell. He's a great coach. He's been able to hold it together while a bunch of teams in that league have really, really rolled over. You look at where some of the teams are in that league, and it's really like look at the bottom, Notre Dame, and look at Syracuse and some of the teams at the bottom there. It's really, really difficult. And some of those teams from the West Coast, you should go back to the West Coast because I'm tired of hearing Mick Cronin cry all the time about all the travel. When you joined the league, didn't you look at who was in the league when you joined it?
Yeah, right.
You didn't know how you were going to get there? You didn't know how far it was? No geography classes at UCLA? Come on, man. Enough. Knock it off. Or go back where you came from. Into the West Coast leagues where you should have been anyway.
Here's what happens
you made a huge jump for the dollar. Let's just call that.
For that.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Pete. Making it rain, Pete. That's the way it is, man. That's what it is. All right. Keep it rolling here. We're into Georgia. Mike White, 16-3. This team's talented. And people are sleeping on them. They don't really, this is a great conference. And if they can make it for a little while longer, keeping up that record, they're going to get a really good seed. Going to get a very, very good seed. Texas Tech, they're holding water. Christian Anderson, watch this guy play. He is having a great year and really stepped up as one of the best guards in the country. They have Jacob Toppin still. Man, if they had Darian Williams, this team would be looking at a different echelon. North Carolina, 15-4. They took it on the chin last week too, and I think they're gonna a little bit because they need to really get honed in on defense. A team of that caliber at that level and don't defend, you're not going to win. You're not going to win consistently against really good teams. I'm really excited about the Duke-Carolina game. That'll be coming up, the first one. I don't ever miss a Duke-Carolina game. Those are coming up soon and then at the end of the year. St. John's, 18. They're 14-5. They're coming on Zuby. They're riding that Zuby train. And Coach Pitino's just trying to figure this thing out, too. You look at a guy. Here's something for you. He plays his son, Richard, on Saturday, I believe, tomorrow.
Yep.
And he's going for his 900th career victory. Imagine having to eclipse 900 career victories and beat your son at the same time. But here's even the guy who many consider the Godfather, the best in the business, certainly the best of all time. Okay? He's still trying to figure this team out.
Yeah.
He's still trying to figure this St. John's team out because of all of the rapid turnover that they're experiencing. Even the greatest in the game can't operate in these conditions is my message to you all. Even the best of the best can't operate like this. This is why the game is really starting to turn. You can see it, and it saddens me. Vanderbilt, talk about 1-2-3 punch. They were undefeated. And then 3 in a row. I should have bounced them. Because I was buying Byington all year and doing a great job with them and really pumped up about them. But, man, they took pump last week. Florida gave it to them bad. Texas A&M, keep an eye on this team. Nobody talking about it. They're in the bushes. They lost Buzz Williams last year, brought in a new coach. They got talent. I'll tell you that right now. And they're defending. 15-4, and they're solid. Miami, they were doing good. They had 2 losses, but then boom, boom, Out go the lights. I got to drop you. Almost dropped you all the way out. But right now they're doing pretty good. Now, Pete, here's where we get to the segment of the show that I really like. Okay? Nobody's giving these teams the credit that they deserve. 24. Miami of Ohio out of UMass's conference, the MAC. They're undefeated, 20-0. Playing great basketball. Great coach with Travis Steele. I don't know why people aren't giving them the shot. I can tell you why. It's weapons of math destruction. But they're in ours. We put them in ours at 24. They're 20-0. Out of the A10. Love the A10. Good conference this year. The top of it is very, very good. The bottom of it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And the middle is capable of beating anybody on any night. So keep an eye on the A10 as we go down. Very exciting basketball to come out of that league. But we have St. Louis at 18-1. Big Robbie Avila. Josh Scherz being talked about as one of the coaches ready to go up the ladder. And he just got there. So they're doing a great job. In 2 years, they got this St. Louis team at the top of the league. Our Wooden Award winners.
Wait, no love for St. Mary's or Villanova?
Oh, I have them. I didn't.
Skipped over 'em.
I skipped them. Oh, my goodness. All right.
We got so excited about Miami and Miami of Ohio.
I did. It was Miami and St. Louis that I really got excited about. Let's go back. I regress. St. Mary's, yes, sir. Tony Bennett. He left his heart somewhere out near San Francisco. He's up in Moraga, turning out a product every single year. When you get done and you add it all up, this guy's record is going to be unbelievable. Randy Bennett, excuse me. And then you have Villanova, Coach Willard. Gone from Maryland over to Villanova. I think this is a good fit for him. I think it's a great spot for him. This is part of the Pitino coaching tree that's in the Big East because Coach Willard's father was a coach. Ralph Willard was a coach, very much close with Coach Pitino. So you're watching the Big East really have a real strong Pitino flavor. All right, Wooden Award winners, DeBonsa, Boozer, Lendeborg, and I'm still going with Jaden Bradley in Arizona. He's carrying them. Rookie of the Year, DeBonsa, Flemings from Houston, Wilson, Boozer. I'm going to throw Darius Acuff in there too. All right. Now, since we have, I'm going to talk about this just for a second, with Darren Peterson, okay? Everybody's top of the draft board. Everybody loves him. He's different. I'm not going to say he's not. But right now, I think what's going on is they're load managing him already. So, the NCAA, will they now adopt and follow model, because this is what they've been doing all along, is just following what the NBA does.
Yep.
Do they now extrapolate out their NBA 65-game rule and now extrapolate it down to the NCAA, where you are no longer eligible for all postseason awards if you don't eclipse X amount of games?
That's an interesting concept.
Let's see. All right, Pete, we're going to love this one. Holtzman on the house. Chris Holtzman. He was the head coach at Ohio State. They fired him in the middle of the year. Brought in John Diebler. They haven't recovered as a program. It was not a good decision, especially, I thought, to fire Holtzman. They weren't going great, but it was in the middle of all that NIL stuff. Okay? DePaul hires him. Good coach. So DePaul hires him. He goes in, and what he does the other day was he bought a beer for any of the students in the student section 21 and over. He tells the reporter, he said, my wife's out of town. And so the receipt is sitting on the kitchen table, and I don't know what she's going to do when she sees it. But I want to give a shout out to Holtzman because that's class, man. That's a great move. These guys make a boatload of money. And then go back and say, hey, I got you. I'm here where you live on the college campus of a college kid. Beer is one of the lubricants of that place.
That's commodity, baby.
It's a commodity. And to go in there and understand that and, just add a little humor to it also in the post game about his wife not knowing, I'm just with him, Now I'm going to root for DePaul now because I think that was really, really cool. Out in Chicago, you're freezing out there right now. That's the coldest place I've ever been in my life. And they're freezing out there right now. Have a beer. Stay inside. Stay warm. It's on Coach Holtzman. Great job. Pete, you and I There's that old song, You and I Travel to the Beat of a Different Drum. We called this, and I don't think, we're any super prophets or anything, because a lot of people saw this coming. But the marriage of college basketball with gambling sites, with NIL money, with the portal, with all of this mayhem, we have a gambling scandal.
No.
It broke. And I used to say it was drip, drip, drip. But now they're in kind of a 3-step mode, which is drip, mop, sweep. Drip, mop it up, sweep it up. It lasted about a week. Okay? Got 26 individuals arrested. I'm calling it Metcalfing. Okay, one of the guys that was involved in this and bringing these people to justice was this guy Metcalf. And he's trying to justify it for them, going, well, they're not guys who have NIL money. Okay, they didn't get NIL deals. Keep shooting. Keep practicing. You'll get there, son. Instead, it's like, well, they threw a few prop bets down and they shaved some points, and they're just a bunch of young kids that they'll learn. They'll get better. I mean, this is the problem. Nobody's accountable anymore, and so I didn't hear a whole lot of big name programs mentioned in this either. So to me, it's also, I think some of
Who's
these
protecting who?
And I think some of these mid-majors, not only are they taking your lunch money right now, they're absolutely taking your lunch money. They're going to take your bids, But they're also Lee Majors and the fall guy right now, too. Because anything that goes bad, you guys own it. Don't bring that stuff up here. We're part of the brand. We're the Jordan of the whole thing. We can't be harmed.
Yeah, we're too big to take the fall.
Right. It's like Jerry Tarkanian said, the NCAA got so mad at Kentucky, they put Cleveland State on probation.
Right.
Still one of the great lines of all time. I want to give our fans, a little bit of a taste of what we're feeling right now. Where you at with this whole thing? We get a lot of feedback on social media and stuff, but I kind of get the sense that people aren't, with it 100%. We're never with it 100%. Had some reservations about it, deep reservations about it 100%. Wanted to see some of the money get moved around, certainly around the table, but not like this.
Not like this, right?
So where is Faker Baker on this, Pete? And why hasn't he lost his job?
He's collecting his paycheck.
$3 million a year to lord over the destruction of the game, the destruction of amateurism, the destruction of the college student. He's got to go. He's got to go.
Hoops talked about it last week, man. Last show.
These are the courts on the court. It's unbelievable. They're talking about this young man now, Charles Badacco. He went out, played basketball, went to the G League, wherever he went, comes back in and he gets a judge to give him an injunction to say that he's eligible. Now, Todd Golden from Florida went out on social media and said the judge that gave Alabama the injunction is an Alabama fan. And they just let this guy, Charles Badacco, gain eligibility right now. There's about 12 games left in the year. Right now, they can throw this guy in there if they want him.
It's a ringer.
It comes from all directions now. It comes from all directions. You don't even know, where do you fight? Which one?
You said it was going to be decided in the courts. It's now being decided in the courts. Why is that such a huge surprise to anybody?
It's not a surprise, but what it is it's an overstep by the courts. They're not supposed to be regulating things. They're not supposed to be making laws. That's Congress. And those guys they're more useless than anybody right now.
It seems like Congress. The NCAA's abdicated responsibility until they get hauled in front of Congress or the court. The Congress doesn't care because they have bigger narratives to fry.
Right.
And the courts are like, well, we're stuck with this, so we got to do what we got to do.
Not only that, you're talking about, like, Baker just sits there and goes, well, we lost in court all these times. Now they have that validation. Hey, that wasn't us. We didn't want this. We lost in court. We went and fought. We tried to get it done. And I do agree with them that they have been trying to keep this going. But the methodologies that they employed were awful. They were un-American. They were restraint of trade. They were a whole bunch of things that needed to be worked out in there that they completely turned a blind eye to for years. For years.
Yeah.
And some of it was abusive. Some of it was counterproductive. And some of it really, really went against the law. You know, here's what we're talking about. Home cooking, Pete. All right? We got some felonious stuff going on in the college basketball world, and this is what we're talking about. The mid-majors, they don't get to have all these home games. The low majors are actually imbalanced the other way. And so instead of having this thing be really equitable, does the algorithm, when they decide these numbers of who's doing what, does it include the imbalance in home and away games? Because that's huge. Let me explain it to you, especially when you got a couple of thousand guarantee dollars to back it up, right? The losing teams are coming in right now. You have a bunch of teams, and these athletic directors should absolutely be run out of their seats for doing this to their students. But because they don't have the money, they send their men's basketball team out to play 9 straight guarantee games that they're going to lose every single one of them on the road to bring in enough money.
And to start the season.
Just to start the season. You lost them already. Your locker room's destroyed. Your players are in complete trauma. Trauma. You let it go. You let them get beat and beat and beat and clubbed over the head by these teams for money. That's on you, okay? But here's what happens at the top. Clemson, 20 games, 11-5. North Carolina, 19 games, 12-4, home and away. Georgia Tech, 19 games, 13 home, 4 away. Cal, 15-3. Houston, here it is, Pete, 18 games, 10 home, 2 away. 2 away games. And their top 10 team? West Virginia, 12 home, 3 away. St. John's, 11-4. South Carolina, 13-4. George Mason, they're talking about them being a great team. 19 games, 13-4. Now, let's talk about the flip side. Maine, 21 games. They're having a terrible, terrible year. 7 home games, 12 away. Bryant, 7 home, 12 away. Jacksonville, 6 home, 12 away. Cornell, 6 home, 11 away. Niagara, 6 home, 12 away. You starting to get the idea here?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
I see a pattern there.
All right. I promised this a couple of weeks back. I don't think we have time again, Pete. How much time I got?
2 minutes.
We started early. Yeah. All right. So let's just, again, I'll save it, but I promise I'll get to it first thing off the get next week. But let's just close with a little bit of commentary on some things that, you see that are starting to be a little bit worrisome. All right? For me, anyway. The thing is, what we try and talk to our guys about all the time is this. We go into some pretty hot environments. Fans can be really, really bad. They'll say stuff. They'll come out of the stands. They'll approach our guys. And on the Division I level, that's even more magnified. Now, if you ample in the whole gambling thing where a guy goes to the line and their team is winning, but the line is 6, and he's got 2 free throws, and he makes one and he misses the other, which causes a bunch of people to lose their money, they now come out into social media and they absolutely crush these people. Now, we said this before, and I want to illuminate it for our fans, and it's the scary part about the whole thing. College basketball and gambling are inextricably tied and tied in with the television set in your living room, in the bars, in the hotels. Okay? And as long as that goes on, the 29 individuals that got arrested, you can make that 2,900. There's way, way more of this than they're letting on right now. You can always factor that in. When you're dealing with big corporate interests, there's always going to be minimization. There's always going to be an attempt to drip it, mop it, and sweep it, which is where we are right now. And that whole process also takes time. And in that week, 5,000 other things in our life take place of that right now.
Yep.
And that's what's going on in your basketball and your sports world. I don't know what to tell you what to do or how to approach it. I feel your frustration. Pete and I talk about it quite regularly on the show. But we're not the people that are in charge of the solutions. But there has to be a better way than this. There certainly is a better way than this. And I implore the people that are at the top of this whole thing right now, President Trump, Baker, all of the people that are involved in this, get together and formulate a group, a working group that can actually do something about this and actually has teeth to it. But it actually follows the law as well and creates a set of rights for these student athletes as well. That's not undoable. This is how we got here, was in the ability to craft that solution. That solution is still out there, but we need to bring in the people who have the power to enact that solution, craft that solution, and execute that solution to the table. It needs your attention right now. It needs your attention immediately, because this thing has gone way too far, way too fast, for way too long. Folks, we'll see you next week in the zone, baby. We'll bring it again.